That's it.
You want to be world champion powerlifter and a billionaire.
Yeah. My secret to success with everything is just pick something that there's a spark there. It lights you up for some reason. Maybe you can't explain why at first. And then I never look at the competition. When I compete in powerlifting, when I run a business, because I think if you look at what someone else is doing, your ceiling is now their ceiling. Everyone has a personal success system. They just don't know what it is. For everything that you have previously achieved, you followed a system, whether knowingly or not. And this is how I get there.
But like, I don't really know how to think about it, to be honest. I could either, and I believe in like for openness and transparency. And so I could either just be like, here's the entire playbook of like how I design hopefully the best experience people have had on a podcast. But then it's like, do you give away all of your cards? Like, should you build in public entirely, or
Don't know.
Like, to what extent should things be like? How do you decide which things are kind of like your IP or like your kind of like secret source, and which things are just like great content that you should share, and like actually you shouldn't hold anything close to your chest or whatever?
Don't know. Decide which game you're playing, and then just play that game.
When it comes to openness, which game are you playing?
Which game am I playing?
Yeah.
Mainly the build in public, share stuff game. I like sharing things as much as possible because I like playing the game of being more me and thinking less about what I'm saying and saying what I think. And that often involves just maybe oversharing. But then I'd kind of rather overshare than undershare.
Are there other like coaching AI businesses? I'm sure there must be.
Yeah, potentially. I don't really look.
Ah.
I just think I'm playing my game. I never look at the competition. When I compete in powerlifting, when I run a business, I just think they're doing other stuff. They've got different strengths, but they're not me and they're not us. So I just don't really look. Someone will say like, oh, I don't know, they might cancel and then they might say we went somewhere else. And I just always just think, oh, okay, good for you. That was the right choice for you. But I'm just building my stuff.
You don't think about competition at all?
No, because I think if you look at what someone else is doing, your ceiling is now their ceiling. And I don't want my ceiling to be their ceiling. Like when I was running an agency in Birmingham, UK, I never looked at what other agencies in Birmingham, UK were doing. I looked at what other agencies maybe in other parts of the world were doing. But I don't want to be there scrabbling for work against another agency in my hometown compared to thinking bigger with everything. I think it just keeps you small. I think competition keeps you playing small, focused on the wrong things, and it's just not important.
Have you read a book called Blue Ocean Strategy?
No.
It's all about this. It's like competition is a red ocean, so very bloody. There's lots of sharks, whereas there are blue oceans everywhere. You just have to look for them, and it's all about what are your unique differentiators and how can you focus in on that?
Yeah.
Which sounds pretty much like what you're saying.
I don't look at my competition in a powerlifting competition to the point where I'll meet them for the first time on the podium. And also there was one girl I competed against once and I had no idea who she is. And it's not because I'm trying to ignore people. I'm just so focused on my own game that I'm just not even thinking. And there was someone who came up after, I guess they lifted and shook my hand. And I was like, yeah, cool, well done. And it turned out that she was trying to beat me the whole time and then she hadn't managed it. So she came up and shook my hand and I was like, oh, that was really sweet, but I have no idea who you are. And it's not, it's just my strategy. I much prefer it.
One of your goals is you want to be world champion.
Yes.
And so then like by default, you have to then beat everyone else. And so there has to be like, I'm just struggling to understand how you become the best without, well, I suppose that's literally what you're saying. Like the belief is you focus so hard on your own game that you will beat everyone else. And that's almost like a default.
Yeah. I don't want to win because someone else failed. I want to win because I was better. I don't care about someone else's unforced errors or where someone else went wrong or all the terrible stuff that happened in their life that meant that they didn't show up. That's not interesting to me. I would rather everyone there had the best day ever, believe they had their best day ever, and I still beat them.
Wow. I jumped into it. This is very exciting. Thank you so much for coming. It's such an honor. So could you share with the audience what they need to know about the one and only Jodie Cook?
Oh my goodness, the one and only. I'm Jodie Cook. I am currently traveling the world while running a business, running a team, competing in powerlifting, writing for Forbes, and enjoying life. I used to run a social media agency. I had it for 10 years. I sold it, started a new business about 2 years ago. And I feel like I'm living my peak life right now. And then this week, I'm in London meeting you, doing podcasts. But apart from that, I'm just traveling, living out of a suitcase, and doing all the fun entrepreneur-y athlete stuff at the same time.
Very cool. The lifestyle that many entrepreneurs dream of, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Going back to JC Media, the social media agency that you sold, when you sold it, your dad asked you, is this going to be the biggest transaction you ever do?
My accountant.
Oh, was it your accountant? I'm sorry, not your dad.
Yeah.
Your accountant. To which I heard you thought, well, screw that, I'm not going to peak at 32.
Yeah.
And then the ambition, it almost felt like it lit a fire in your ambition, and now your ambition is exploded, and you said you want to be world champion powerlifter and a billionaire.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome. How did you land on those goals?
I feel like my secret to success with everything is just pick something that there's a spark there. It lights you up for some reason. Maybe you can't explain why at first. And then the rest of it's so boring because it's just keep going at that one thing for a very, very long time. And I quite like deciding the game you're going to play at the start and making the game really big, and then just keep going towards it without getting distracted. So I don't really have yearly goals. I just have big life goals, and then I'm making progress towards them all the time. But when I ran the agency, I felt like I thought very small. I think until I started in 2011, until maybe 2016, I was so Birmingham centric. I was so UK centric. Everything was in pounds. I would only speak about one time zone. When I traveled, it wouldn't be really for business. It would be just to travel. And it was only when I started connecting up these parts of my life that I realized, no, you can run a business that works from anywhere, and you can do business with entrepreneurs all over the world. And then I felt like I started opening up my horizons and then having bigger goals to match.
But you don't have sort of annual goals. Do you have quarterly goals? Like this, it feels like an amazing sort of like life goal. But as in, you seem like a very system oriented person.
Yeah.
And like a lot of your content is how do you break things down into their component parts, build the SOP for your life, and then kind of follow it once you figure out whatever that SOP is. And so I'm intrigued as to like what role do goals play on a day-to-day, week-to-week, quarterly, monthly, whatever basis?
This is so great. I'm so happy you asked about this because I haven't put this into these words before, but I really like the extremes. I like testing the edges. I think balance can be really overrated. And I only like finding balance when I've tested the edges and then decided on the balance. I don't set out with the goal of balance. So for example, when I set up a YouTube channel, which is in the last couple of months, I set myself a 30-day challenge, post every single day, a video every single day for 30 days. So I can test the maximum limits of my comfort zone with making videos and sharing online, and then come back and decide the cadence from there, rather than doing like one a week forever, which to me is not interesting. It's just really boring. And so I have a similar mindset around goals for life, and it's have the goals that I want to achieve in my whole life. And then I have what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I only think about those two things. I don't think about month, quarter, year. I just think, what do I do every single day? And where do I want to get bigger picture? Because I hate the idea that you get to the end of your year, you haven't achieved your yearly goals, and then you're sad. But really, you might be 75% of the way there and you don't even need that much longer. And then what's a year anyway? It's just an arbitrary time period. It doesn't matter. So there's lifetime, there's day to day. And I focus a lot on what I do every single day, the habits I have, the routines I have, and how they lead to my ultimate big life goals.
Quick 10-second pause to say that our newsletter is the highest value per sentence in your inbox. We share systems, prompts, and scripts that you can use today. Because content without action is just noise. All the links in the description. Now, let's get back to the episode. There's a book called The 12-Week Year, which speaks about how annual goals aren't actually very effective because it's too long a period. And so actually quarterly goals are much more appropriate. However, to what you're saying, a year is an arbitrary number, arbitrary amount of time.
Yeah.
But £1 billion is an arbitrary number as well. And like being a world champion is just another sort of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you think about, like, once you achieve those, then what?
I don't really mind. I feel like I'm totally happy for goalposts to move all the time. I like those arbitrary measures because they're just the metrics that feel big enough that I'm very excited about doing it. Not so big that I feel like I could never get there. So there's a sense of demotivation. They're right on the edge of comfort zone where I don't quite know the way, but I know there is a way. And I'm quite excited about finding out the way and then doing it at the same time. And then hitting both of those. Like when I sold my agency, that was a big goal ticked off. But then I feel like the most important thing for me to do then, and it will be the same when I hit those two, is just take a pause and then be like, what are my next goals? The pause will probably matter the most before checking the next ones. And this is because we're probably quite similar in that we can just pick something and then go all in on it. And that's dangerous. Because if you pick the wrong thing, you're just wombatting away, digging, like burrowing holes for yourself, just going because you believe that's the right thing to do without going, hang on, am I going in the right direction? Am I doing this for the wrong reasons? Do I really want this? So I take quite a long time before deciding what to do before doing it.
It seems like the pause period is actually almost like the most important period because that's where you're setting the direction before you put your foot on the gas and start running hard at something. So
Yeah.
how do you pause well?
The main thing an entrepreneur needs to do when pausing well is not buy domain names.
Oh, I feel so seen.
Don't buy the domain name, just don't. And don't take the next step. So in between businesses, I was thinking about the business to start next. And I knew that I feel like I could make anything work, which might be just a away with the fairies type way of thinking, but I definitely do think like that. So I wrote down every brainwave I had just on a spreadsheet. And then it was like the business idea, who the audience was, what problem it was solving, what I'd do, the first like 5 steps I would take, and then the potential of it. And I just didn't let myself buy any domain names, didn't let myself go forward with anything whatsoever. And I had 30 ideas on the sheet before I went forward with Coachvox, my business, which was actually idea number 22. So even after finding the right one, just carried on going because I was so keen to not move forward with the wrong thing, because then you get, all sorts of bias sneak in. You get sunk cost bias. I don't want to have sunk cost bias about anything. I never want to feel like I'm doing something just because I've been doing it so far. So it's almost like I don't think I'm a commitment phobe, but I feel like I'm aware that I can commit to stuff too much and I want to commit to the right stuff.
So which bias do you think you are victim to the most today?
Oh, not sunk cost bias. There's the like me bias where you like people who are like you, because that just happens. You're like, oh my God, you're like me. And then that's quite fun. I think primary recency bias, where you remember the first thing that someone told you and the last thing that they told you, but not in the middle. That could be a good one to fall into. But then you can use that one to your advantage, because if you go on podcasts, the first thing that you tell someone and the last thing that you tell someone is the stuff that they're going to remember. And in the middle, they're just going to get a warm, fuzzy feeling of how you made them feel. Have you heard of the halo effect?
I have, but I can't remember exactly what it is. So please
Halo
remind
effect
me.
is where you automatically think that the most attractive person in the room is the cleverest or has the best ideas. And it's so interesting because it's almost like the world shouldn't be that way. You don't want to believe that people are just there because of how they look. But then given that the halo effect is real, I think making yourself be in the best physical shape possible, or just look as attractive as possible, or smile the most possible, is a really good idea. And I would have shied away from that one before because I would have been like, oh, it doesn't have to be that way. And also my mom was in corporate banking in the 80s, kind of power suit, big hair, in rooms full of men, making sure that everyone knew that she was there on merit and not just because she was just an attractive woman. And so maybe I shied away from that a little bit too much, but now I'm like, no, you want to look good. And it's really important.
I have this debate with Lara, my fiance, because I'm just like, it's what do they call it? Pretty privilege, where it's like, oh, if you're good looking, like you naturally have a lot of advantage in life. Like people trust you more, people like you easier. And it was a back and forth, her being like, no, it's not true. Like it's just that's not a thing. It's like, well, sorry to say, like you're gorgeous, and like it will have had an impact on all the people around you.
It's an ace card. Play it.
I wouldn't have thought that would have been an ace card. So ace cards, for the rest of the audience, is part of your system for success. You've got 3 things. It's ace card, it's best self, and it's success system. So ace cards is one of them.
Yeah.
But can you go into describing, like, because I wouldn't have jumped that as being an ace card, but can you describe us the extremes of what could be ace cards, and then we'll find the balance once we come to the extremes.
So much. And the matrix that you're talking about is what I call the superpower matrix. No, the superpower system, where it's a Venn diagram, as all beautiful made up frameworks are. And it's your higher and lower self and defining them and being able to bring the best version of you to every thing that you're involved in. And then it's your personal success system. I honestly believe everyone has one of these. They just might not know it. And then there's ace cards. And so ace cards are those skills, characteristics, traits, those things that you have at your disposal that you can play. And it might be the networks you're part of. It might be the knowledge you've got. It might be some kind of physical attribution. It might be some kind of something in your life. And I potentially previously would have, similar to you, thought that physical attractiveness was something that you couldn't help and was something that you're just born with, or you're just not born with, and that's it. But that's just not the case at all. It's just you can make everyone looks more attractive when they're in shape, and everyone can make more of an effort, and that just is a thing. And so it feels like if you've got that already at your disposal, why wouldn't you use it? Like if you take 2 people, one of them shows up in an only written form, one of them shows up on camera, there's going to be benefits to showing up on camera. If you look good on camera, it's just a thing. Why wouldn't you play it? And I don't know if it's a British thing maybe, but I feel like in the US, they're way more like, yeah, do it. Take that ace card and play it. And so I've completely switched how I think about that. I'm just like, everything you've got, just play it, because there are people, the biggest mistake is not playing them. And the biggest regret I feel like anyone should ever have is unfulfilled potential. Anything that you have, just play, use it, put it forward.
So what are your most extreme ace cards?
Oh, I should have seen that one coming. I think I genuinely really love people. I don't know how much of an extrovert I am, but it's close to 100%. So it just means that I really like talking to people. I like meeting people. I like connecting people a lot. And then I get a lot of energy from other people. So the more I can just situate myself where I can chat to people, be around people, connect people, and leave the other non-people stuff to other people and then talk to those people about the stuff that they're doing, then I can achieve more. That's probably the biggest one.
Okay.
And then I would say writing, and I would also say finding patterns. So if I'm not talking to people or engaged in people, I just want to be sat there with my eyes closed, kind of similar to the meditation that we did earlier, and connecting the dots with stuff to then come up with the ideas that I can then go forward with. But there's a lot of thinking that I try and do.
Interestingly, I joined a webinar last night about rest, about the different types of rest. And one of them was stimulus rest. It's like rest from all these things coming in, which sounds like what you just described there. It's like sitting there, closing your eyes, allowing yourself to think and sort of connect dots. But I find that when entrepreneurs specifically, we feel so time poor a lot of the time. These things that don't feel urgent, but we know are important, often get pushed to the side. And so what's your mindset that allows you to prioritize the important but not urgent things like that?
I think I used to think about rest as a way of recharging so I could go again. And now I think about rest as a way of reflecting so I can make better decisions. I think some advice is really bad at some stages of business and really good at other stages of business. And rest is one of them. Rest is one of them. Saying yes and saying no is one of them. Knocking on doors compared to building your own house is another one. It's like the answer is actually it depends. And if you gave the advice to a startup founder that you also gave to someone who was on their second or third business, it would be wholly wrong, which I feel like is why it's important to talk to people who have done the thing that you want to do, but also are aware which stage you're in. So rest is a really part of my week only because I want to do less, but do it better. And I think I do everything better if I'm rested because you can be more present in a podcast episode and because I can train better. And then because I don't find myself in that, that like hamster mode of go, like I'm doing this and notification, dopamine, getting back to people straight away, all that stuff. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be a very zen person dealing with everything in a very chill, remembering that we're all going to die one day and nothing actually matters type way.
And you said that before this interview that was one of the things that people ask you about the most, which is like, how do you say Zen? The life of a founder often doesn't lend itself to remaining calm. And so prioritizing, being present, not being reactive, understanding where you are in business and life. Like, is there anything else that jumps to mind that contributes to this Zen, peaceful way of being?
Yeah. The opposite of being Zen is being triggered. And everyone gets triggered. And I like really geeking out when it happens. It's almost like if you pretend like you're not someone just living your life, you're someone studying you living your life. And then when you're on a day and you find yourself getting triggered for some reason, some people feel it in their heart, some people feel it in their head. There'll be some physical way that you're like, oh, that's annoyed me. And where do you feel it?
Like heart, chest, like it's tense.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Like I almost feel like my heart skips a beat when I get annoyed. It's like, ah. So then what I really love is finding those moments and then being like, oh, I got triggered. What was that? And then take the step back and then go, what was it? It's never that thing. It's always you. It's basically just showing up a mirror to something that you can't see in yourself. And I used to get triggered by slow walkers because I'd be like, why are they walking so slowly? What is going on? Have they not got anywhere to be? Like, do they not know that I have somewhere to be? And really, that was just about me. I was essentially jealous of them because they're walking slowly, because they're calm, because they're chill. And I wanted to be, but I hadn't found that sense of priority that meant that I could just chill, and I didn't have the perspective that they did. So it's a trigger that tells you something about you. And the more that you dig into them and the more that you figure out what it is, the more that nothing can eventually trigger you, because there'd be nothing that came up that you wouldn't analyze, reframe, and then just stop doing it.
And perfect segue. This feels like it's part of the best self circle in the Venn diagram. So you've got our ace cards, best self. This is part of it. Is there any other elements that you bring into showing up as our best selves?
So the higher version of you, I really like thinking about this in terms of a spirit animal. If everyone's got a higher self and a lower self, you can describe each of them. And so for me, I know that when I'm in my higher self, I'm confident, I'm not rushing, I'm present, I'm seeing the funny side of things, I'm not taking myself too seriously, I'm kind of chill and I can play, but then I can like go at the same time if I want to just go. And so I think my higher self spirit animal is a lion. But the opposite, the lower self, is like really impatient, really kind of restless, following things up, being like, and kind of antsy. And I think my lower self is like a Pomeranian puppy. But if I'm on that scale of lion to Pomeranian puppy, it's also similar to getting triggered. It's like you can kind of zoom out and go, why am I acting like this? Oh, I'm just being my lower self right now, or I'm being a bit puppy right now. And then you can kind of go, okay, what do I need to get me to the higher version? And then the more that you can keep going, get back to the lion state, then the more that you can just be your higher self all the time. and then it's so obvious when you're not. I feel like I've got people that I know where I can see that they're not in their best version, but they don't have this, they're not self-aware enough in that present moment to realize that they are. And then once you start reminding them, like, hang on, this isn't you. You're normally like this, like it must be something else. Then they're like, oh yeah, actually. And then they have the separation. Do you know what your spirit animals are?
I changed my first name not too long ago, last year, to Bear.
Yeah.
Mainly because my mum used to call me Edward Bear after Winnie the Pooh. And I always hated the name Edward, which was my first name. And so then I eventually ended up changing it to Bear. So that felt like the obvious one.
Yep.
I don't know why, though. I don't know why that would be a suitable spirit animal. Like they feel quite wise and powerful, but also like cuddly, like you have a cuddly bear.
Yeah.
And like very community driven animals. So that feels like it makes sense. But lower self.
What are you like when you're triggered? When you're hungry, when you're angry, when you're
I'm
sad?
Like just very short tempered. I get quiet. I'm just like, I kind of want everyone to fuck off and like I'll just do my own thing. I'll just like get it done, whatever it is. And I'll just be in my head kind of going round like these stories that just make me feel more frustrated and like pissed off. And then I'll notice them and I'll be like, I'm in a negative loop. Like what's going on? But I'm trying to think about what animal that applies to.
You could be some kind of badger, something that just kind of goes round in its circle in the zoo, and it's just like, "Argh."
This is true. That just immediately reminds me of that YouTube video. It's like, honey badger don't care. Honey badger don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It does what it wants.
You can be a honey badger, but I feel like that's a more violent character. Maybe you're a regular badger, but I mean, it's up to you. You decide this. No one else can decide it for you.
And so then getting from your lower self spirit animal to your higher self spirit animal requires this level of self-awareness to be like, I'm not in my best self state. And then you said like, how do I get back to being a lion? How do I get back to being a lion?
Yeah.
So how do you get back to being your lion?
Have your own list of stuff, your own list of interventions. And mine might be eat a freaking carrot, go for a walk and listen to a Miley Cyrus song. It can be so simple, just something that makes you go, that's not me. And then makes you back to normal. It could be one friend that you text. It could be one YouTube video that you just have available. But the main point is to have it available at your fingertips so that you can just go, oh, that's different. I can be a different person now.
Is a walk enough for you as someone who trains a lot and like as part of your obsession? Is like a quick reset for me would be like if I just ran for 10 minutes, I'd be fine. But a walk sounds like it does the same thing for you.
Yeah, it could be. It would have to be an intentional walk with no. I don't really take my phone on walks, so it would have to be without anything. Ideally by the sea, ideally with some height, because height's good for perspective. I think running is good. Exercise is good because it releases hopeful hormones. They're kind of anecdotally known as. So you can feel terrible and then you can just go for a run and then your whole disposition can change just because of the hormones released during exercise. So that's a good one. But it might be a track, it might be a friend. It could be so simple. It doesn't even need to take that long. Ideally it doesn't, because you just got it there and you're like, oh, I can be best me again.
And so I imagine over time, the amount of time that it takes from you to switch from your Pomeranian puppy to your lion self can actually be very quick now because you've just practiced it and you just practice a sort of mindset shift.
Yeah. It's instant. Yeah.
Quick 25-second pause, talk about how startup leaders are athletes of the mind. And just like an athlete, you should treat your health as your number one priority. You can't show up for others if you're depleted. You can't pour from an empty cup, which is why my friend Dan's company, Heights, is a partner of the show. Heights are the world's best brain and gut supplements. I've been taking Heights for a couple of years and I feel like an elite mental athlete. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Click on the link in the description and start reaching your heights. Right, back to the episode. Now, as someone who works in the world of AI, the question that I have started asking myself, given that we're moving towards this era of AGI and superintelligence, the question I ask myself is, what does it mean to be human? And I feel like emotions are some of the most deeply human things. But this feels like I don't feel very in tune with my emotions. And a lot of the time I will try and switch from negative emotions to positive emotions because that's how I like to identify. And so how do you feel about the giving emotions space versus trying to change how you're feeling?
Yeah, I don't believe in masking emotions. I don't believe in just going, oh, negative, I need to get rid of that straight away and then just trying to like paint on a smile or something. But I do believe in, okay, there's negative emotion. Let's study it. Why is it there? And it might be coming up because of something else, like I'm hungry or I need to exercise or something. There's something like physically missing or that I haven't done. Or it could be just some kind of pattern that you're in that doesn't really mean anything. You're just in the pattern because you're always in it. I stayed in Copenhagen once and we had this drawer in the kitchen that the first day we were there, we bought this bag of sweets and put them in there. And then it became like the sweetie drawer. And then in Copenhagen, I just started being in this pattern of just going into the sweetie drawer, taking some sweets out. And that was just the pattern I was in for the whole trip. I feel like I put on like a kilo just because I had a sweetie drawer. And so if I had that negative emotion of like, oh, it's not really a negative emotion, but if I had that strong sense of, oh, I want sugar right now, it's not because my body even needs it. It's just because I'm in the pattern of craving it. And there will be stuff like that all the time where it's like, oh, I'm sad, but am I actually sad? Or do I just think I'm sad because I'm just in the pattern of this thing that once made me sad? Could be something that happened from childhood that's just having a trigger. But I don't think it's like masking them or trying to swap them really quickly and not think about them. It's more like sitting with them and then deciding if how you're feeling matches how you want to be right now. Because you can choose at any moment who you want to be. And then choosing a better emotional way of being that moves past it. There's a scale. It's called the emotional guidance scale. And it's from joy right at the top to things like competition, anger, desperation at the bottom. And it's like 22 points on the scale. And you can't always go from sadness, which is like, it might be like 18. You can't go from sadness to joy always straight away, but you could go through contentment. You could go through boredom. You could go through other ones and then gradually get yourself up all the time, being aware enough to see how you do get to the next level.
There's a book called Power versus Force, and it basically touches on the energetic sort of, I think, resonance with each of these different emotions. And it's very completely aligned with what you say. It's like there's a scale of emotions, and each of them gives off a different energetic frequency. And so the more you can spend in the top half or the top quarter, then the better energy you'll give out, and then that will contribute to your life.
Yeah.
So interesting. And I would love to go into how you think about this for your team. But before we do that, we've got the third part of this beautiful Venn diagram, which is your success system. And so can you speak to your personal success system and how people define it?
Yes. Well remembered. I think that everyone has a personal success system. They just don't know what it is, or they might suspect, but they don't know for sure. And it's essentially that for everything that you have previously achieved, you followed a system, whether knowingly or not. And if you extract that system from your past successes, you can apply it to what you're currently doing now, and you can achieve anything you want. And I'll talk you through my success system if you want. And my success system is going to be so different to everyone else's. But if I look back to something like selling my agency, it started with setting an intention. Then what came second was asking people who had already done the thing to get their belief system, then creating a step-by-step of how I think I'm going to replicate it, which involved a range of tasks that I did for basically 30 minutes per day, and then visualizing this outcome of why I wanted this intention to come true and where it could all go in the future, and then just persistence with carrying on going with it. And if I look at that 6-step success system, that's exactly what I've done for every single thing that's ever mattered, every achievement that I've ever had. And now I feel like the future is lots more certain because I know that I can just take the success system and apply it to anything. And so it also involves playing your ACE cards. So the things that you've got that are uniquely yours, figuring out how you can use those in your success system so that you can tie them in such a way that you're using your own superpowers and no one else can replicate this exact process, but that you've probably also done it before. Everyone has one that involves going back and thinking about the exact steps that led to everything that you've achieved that you're really proud of, and then testing a hypothesis going forward and seeing if you can hit something else from using the same process.
Okay, I love this.
Do you know yours?
No. But obviously in doing my research on you, I was thinking, oh, what are the things that I'm most proud of and what were the things that led to those? Well, the things I'm most proud of is I did an Ironman. I got the job to run Founders with very little experience. And I suppose the last one is like the people that I've been lucky enough to interview.
Yeah.
I think those are probably like the top three which come up. And I'm trying to think, okay, what's the commonalities between each of those? I suppose it's setting a big goal, running at it like hard and trying to focus on it as much as I can. Even though I'm quite like ADHD and like to have like a million things going at once. Definitely telling everyone about it.
Yeah.
Like public accountability is definitely a big one for me.
Yep. Research is a big part of your success system. It must be.
Yeah, I suppose it is. That's a great point.
And an ACE card. If you love doing it and you're good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I do love doing it. I don't know if I'm good at it, but
yeah, you're good at it. Confirm. Tick.
That's a good point. Yeah, research. I mean, I absolutely love consuming content and like crafting like a whole understanding about a topic or someone.
There's so much to yours. I think it's not just setting a goal. I think it's setting a goal that you know is slightly out of limits.
100%.
Mega out of limits. But that's the thing that probably excites you enough to get started with it.
Yeah. It has to be slightly outside of the limits such that I feel uncomfortable. Like it's the seeking discomforts approach to something. Like if the goal doesn't feel uncomfortable, then I'm just like, it's like it's not that fussed. So I did my first ever marathon at the end of the Ironman.
Yes.
But that was the first time I'd ever run a marathon. Everyone's like, oh, like, why don't you just like build up to the Ironman? And I was like, well, I just know I can run a marathon. Like I'm a runner. Like I haven't ever done it. I've done a couple of halves, but I just know I can do it. It doesn't feel painful.
Yeah, you just do a half and then you do a half again.
Yeah, and a piece of cake. And then now people always get after this, like, oh, like, would you do another one? And I'm like, well, it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. It feels like I could just do it. And so like, no, like at least it isn't, I'm not like so obsessed with doing triathlons. There is a triathlon called the Norseman, which is basically an Ironman, but in the mountains in Norway.
Yeah.
And you have to have a safety car. It's quite dangerous because you're altitude and you're going up and down mountains. And they only give finishers medals to the first 100 people. So if you come 101st, you haven't done it. Which I'm like, that is nuts.
Okay.
And there's a couple of people that have done Ironman on Antarctica and stuff, and like that sounds pretty nuts as well. So
I feel like if you set that as a goal, you would set that as a goal. You would tell everyone you were doing it, and then you would also research the hell out of it. So you would know the course, you would know the terrain, you would understand the transitions, you would get all the right gear, and then you would be in the top 100 because you kind of research your way through to the finish.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And I think the Richard Branson thing was a very similar thing that you mentioned when you first came. At the start, when I started this, I was like, who would be the dream guest? Richard Branson would be the dream guest. Like I've always looked up to him. And like I just do not have an audience such that it would make sense from him from like a practical perspective. But I was like, well, screw it. Like literally his phrase is screw it, let's do it. And so I was just like, what am I waiting for? To like get more established, and then it makes more sense to him. Like,
So what are the next steps? So if you've got the public accountability, you've got the setting the goal with the Richard Branson thing, then you've got the doing all the research on him. What's the next?
The thing that I've realized holds me back is not having a timeline with like having a clear system for experimentation. So the Richard Branson thing took way too long. Like I should have compressed it and been like, cool, this is the delivery date, and then tell everyone that this is the delivery date, and then have to work, because I work quite well to a deadline. Like
Yeah, okay.
I will really, it will come to the last week and I'll be like, shit, I've got to get this out.
Okay, so there's a cramming element to it, because the
like,
Ironmans have a date, the founder application had a deadline, podcast interviews have a deadline.
Everything has like a very clear deadline. Once it's locked in, I'm like, great, I have to do this by that time. And so that's something I'm learning. And it's so interesting because I'm about to start a new company, which I'd love to get your thoughts on after this. And I felt so like all over the place because there's no clear deadline for an experiment. I haven't set myself one. And I'm just kind of like exploring this idea and chatting to people and like kind of getting some feedback and testing some sort of idea of an MVP with some people. And it just feels a bit all over the place. I'm just like, I need a bit more structure to be like, I have to prove something by this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. Thank you. That's
Everyone has one. Everyone has one.
So we've wrapped up this success system, but I'd love to then think about, how do you manifest this in your team? I spoke to Joanna. She had just like wonderful things to say about you, and one of the things that she mentioned was that you are amazing at finding other people's superpowers, and so I imagine you bring this process into the business with helping your various team members flourish. But can you speak to like any ways that you do that specifically, or is it kind of just the same as this where you kind of coach someone through it?
I think it's because I'm genuinely fascinated in people, and especially when I'm fascinated with people I work with, it's because Joanna and I are such kind of opposite people in so many ways. We've worked together for a very long time. When we work together, we call ourselves Team Jodana, and I'm more the kind of visionary, like kind of bit scatty founder, and she's like the operator, the integrator. And so sometimes I'm just fascinated that she wants to do some stuff that I'd be like, I would hate to do that. That would be my worst nightmare. So then I ask her about it, and then she tells me what she loves about it. And then because I've got this fundamental knowledge of what she's interested in and how her brain works and what she likes to do, then I can be like, well, is that interesting to you? And she can be like, yeah. And then we gradually over time work out what the other person wants. Something that really helps this is we've got user manuals at Coachvox. And that means this kind of one pager of how we like to work, because we're just all so different. And so Joanna wrote hers, Ben's got his, everyone in the team's got theirs. And it's like, this is my Myers-Briggs, say, if you want to kind of communicate that that's who you are with some letters. I find that quite useful because mine's ENTJ. So I kind of broke down the letters and what they mean, and how I like people to just be very direct with me. I don't like layers, and she'll say the same. But it's also very nuanced stuff. Like Joanna likes it when she doesn't like having like an SOP to follow. She likes having the goal, and she likes having the kind of the plan and the thought process, but she likes coming up with the process. So fine, great, take that on board. So it's almost, I feel like I want to reward people for being very self-aware by playing to how they want to be treated. And then when you do that, it means they do a better job. And then you have a lot of fun working together. And I do feel that sense of like same team as mine and my husband's kind of mantra, but it's just the mantra for everything. Like I'm very much in collaboration with everyone I work with. And partly that's because I don't really want to manage people. I like more working with partners or kind of coaching people or working with people where they just don't need managing. If someone needs managing, then it won't work out, because I don't like working with people who need that kind of sense of accountability. I'd rather work with people who want to do better off their own back and then want to improve, but they're not relying on you to fill any gaps.
I'd love to circle back to that user manual concept, because there are a million things that we could put in a user manual, but I think the difficult part is boiling down it to a hierarchy of what information you found to be most important in these user manuals. Like, what do you come back to when you check through other people's, or they check through yours?
Yeah. Should I find mine?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh please.
I won't read you Ben's because he sounds like a psycho. He knows he sounds like a psycho.
I think mine would sound like a psycho as
Yeah,
well.
it's better if you.
That's one
But
of
people need to
your
know
life
that.
principles. Extreme people get extreme results.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm Jody. Here's a guide on how to best work with me. This is my user manual. I'm ENTJ, which means extrovert, intuitive thinking. I like to plan and I love lists. Integrity is a quality I value in myself and others. I appreciate when someone does what they say they will do. If someone lets me down, it might be hard for them to regain my trust. I won't tell you I will do something unless I absolutely can, and then I will stick to it, sometimes to a fault. I appreciate direct communication and lots of it. Please tell me what you need. Don't worry about offending me or coming across too bluntly. I much prefer it. Equally, please expect direct communication from me. I enjoy status updates. Feel free to send over FYIs as often as you like. Keeping me in the loop is useful. I'm a confident person and I admire confidence in other people. Bring your most confident version to our conversations. I believe in energy. I try to be high energy myself. I don't engage well in conversations with complaining and or victim speak. I value privacy and discreetness. I don't talk about people behind their back. I don't want to engage in low energy conversations about what someone else has said or done. If you don't either, we'll get on well. I plan things out in advance and appreciate when others do the same. A favorite phrase is, your failure to prepare does not constitute my emergency. I will endeavor not to bring you emergencies. My preferred way of working is async. I don't always have my phone near me. I'm often logged out of emails. You may not get instant replies or back and forth chatting. Ideally, you message me about problems after you've thought about A, what the problem is, and B, how you might solve it. Looking forward to working together.
It feels like a bit of like a journal entry.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah, that's it. And everyone's is like that. Everyone's is as much detail as that. And I study them because I want to speak to people how they want to be spoken to.
So would you say that that's almost like if you had to list the different things that you've included in there, or the different things that you see in other people's user manuals, would how people like to be communicated with, is that top of the list, or is there something else that you think competes for top of the list?
Yeah, that's at the top of the list. And then also the qualities you value in other people, I think. There was someone I used to work with and his user manual was just an absolute car crash. It was like I have a lot of things going on in my head at any given time. And when you tell me something, I might not always remember it. So I need reminding. And I was like, I can't work with this person. I can't do it. You're basically saying I'm going to forget stuff and I don't have my own systems. And that means it's your emergency. And you can tell a lot about someone from the way they describe how they like to communicate. I think now I would include something around that in an interview so that I found someone who was intentional with how they worked.
Including how someone likes to communicate in the interview, or including like write your own user manual?
Oh, write their own user manual would be really cool. So, hey, we like you and we'd like to get you on board, but we want to talk about this first because we want to get the best out of you. Tell us how you like to operate. That would be really cool. And if they could include how they like to be communicated with, that would be good. But then I don't know if someone would feel that open about doing that in an interview, because they might think, well, I don't know yet. I want to see the vibe first. And that's fine too, because you do always flex around people. But I would like someone to know their first preference.
I feel like there's a challenge with, obviously you have varying degrees of self-awareness in each person. And if you ask someone all of these questions, they would probably mention some of the things which are true and which are deeply them. But then a lot of the time, I think we kind of aspire to, and we like say like, oh, I'm really reliable, because that's kind of who they're trying to be or trying to become.
Yeah.
More so than who they actually are now.
Yep.
And so how do you build awareness as to things that people are sort of aspiring to be, as opposed to they have data to prove that they are that thing?
I don't think they necessarily need the data. I would really like someone to define the AJ 2.0 or the Jody 2.0 of this is who I want to be. And then if we had a conversation about what's in the gap, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Here's where you are now. Yeah. I mean, like, as in, if we had a conversation in an interview process or in a user manual.
We are in an interview process.
we can talk about it too. But the idea that you're like, okay, so this is where I am now. This is where I want to be in the future. Like what you talked about with, this is where the podcast is now. This is where the podcast could be in the future with this Apple iTunes rating and this many reviews and all this stuff. It's like, what is actually in that gap? And then you might realize that what's in the gap is just 100 more episodes, or you might realize what's in the gap is just 10 more reviews, or it might be so small. But the idea that someone can go, this is the best version, this is where I am now, and this is how I get there, that's another level of self-awareness that I don't feel like everyone has. But once someone does, then it separates them from other people.
Is this a path you'd be interested in going down? Like defining what does Jody 2.0 look like? Because I find, well, the examples you gave are very like tangible, almost external
Yep.
elements,
Yep.
like something to do with the business or the podcast. But I think inputs are a lot more powerful than trying to focus on outputs. And if you focus on the inputs to get them right, then the outputs will come. And so who is Jody 2.0 and how is she different from Jody today?
I did this exercise not that long ago with a friend. I think it was about defining Jody 3.0, because I felt like at some point last year I became Jody 2.0 because I reached a new level of not caring in a good way, like not caring what people think, I guess, and saying what I think more often. And there was like a shift. You know, when you've ever felt that in life, when you're just like, oh, I'm different now. And partly it was because I go to Cape Town every year, and my favorite place ever is the top of Lion's Head Mountain. And there was something about being there this year that was like, I'm different now, and I don't know how. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something's changed.
It's your spirit animal mountain. That's probably
part of it, I think that's what it is. And so then defining the next version up. The exercise I did with a friend was we got these little cards, like the kind of ones that you would have for a presentation. And then on one side, it was like Jody 2.0 does this. And then on the other side, it was like Jody 3.0 does this. So on Jody 2.0, it was meditates when she can remember to do it. And then on 3.0, it was meditates every day without fail. And it could be anything across any area of your life. But then the idea is that you've got all these cards out that represent 2.0. And then when you've like completed one, you kind of turn it over and you're like, oh, that's me. I'm this person. And it was also that exercise made me realize that Jody 2.0 only goes on other people's podcasts, and that Jody 3.0 has her own show of some sort, even though I didn't know what that was yet. So you can have even just inklings of what the next version up of you has. And then you work towards getting there. And then because it's written down, everything's more powerful when it's written down. And then it means that you're on track to being there. And especially if you show other people, then they can help you out. One of them also was Jody 2.0 does things that her VA should do. And then Jody 3.0 was does nothing her VA could do. And then I showed my VA that. And then it got her on board with it because she's like, yeah, I want to help you get to that next version. And then she would think her Kimberly 2.0 doesn't know everything her clients want, but her Kimberly 3.0 does know everything her clients want, and she's working towards achieving that. So you I feel like being more intentional about who you want to be in the future then empowers other people to be that. And especially when it's people you work with, then you're going in the same direction together, and you know the role that you play in each other's lives as well.
These all feel like very action oriented things, which makes it like very tangible, and you can like kind of feel it, and you can see it. Are there any more value based things?
The ones that are less actionable or tangible, I would say a sense of peace and not rushing is a difference between 2.0 and 3.0, because I don't think rushing is ultimately a good thing. It's more the Pomeranian puppy way of being than the lion way of being. So that's one that's a bit more chill. Values, I don't know. I feel like values they're probably not going to change. Freedom is my highest value. Integrity, honesty, playfulness, they haven't really changed. I think that's the foundation of everything. And then everything else is the actions on top of that. What do you think?
I think with any of our values, I suppose I feel like it's so much harder and requires so much more thought. But if you took any one of your values to their extreme, what would that look like? And do you want that extreme? I suppose this is how you live life, right? You go to the extremes, then you find the balance.
Yeah.
And so maybe you don't want pure freedom, like absolutely nothing, which would basically mean no business, no responsibilities whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
But actually that takes away from a different part of life, which is you're building something and that's how it contributes to your sense of purpose and whatnot.
I think integrity can be taken to the extreme.
Mm.
If integrity is a value, then it's like for every strength, there's also a weakness. And the weakness of integrity is that you will keep going on something even though it's expired, or you'll keep going forward with a commitment or a relationship or something because you've got this commitment that you've made to yourself or to another person or to a thing. And then it's a bad thing because that is taken to the extreme. But where I counter that is by taking pauses and not committing to anything unless I'm sure. Because otherwise it's scary, the idea of getting stuck, which then goes against the freedom. So yeah, they kind of all link together.
Yeah, I feel like there is there's a push and pull between them, and you need to develop the self-awareness and come back to each of the values on a semi-regular basis, then be like, oh, one intention with the other, or like, where do I feel misaligned with something? And again, this is all part of like the important but not urgent work, which so many people like push aside. If I ask someone like, oh, when was the last time you reflected on your values, or like what your higher self looks like, I don't know how many people would have been like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I do that every month or every quarter or anything.
It helps that I don't have a TV. I don't really listen to anything. I don't really consume current media. If something happens that's important, someone will tell me. Some bad news fairy will come out of the woodwork and say, hey, do you know that bad thing that happened? Yeah, it's just, I don't want to fill my brain with just crap. I just want to keep it out there. I'd rather the only good stuff got in. And then I had more just funning around, doing whatever. And my brain was ultimately more empty.
I love this. It's very, I feel deeply connected with how you live life. So you've really inspired me. So this is, it really resonates with a lot of what you're saying. But I'd love to go back to the team.
Yeah.
And so we went on this tangent from user manuals. One of the other things you said in your Forbes article, 5 ways to get the best out of your team, was about horizontal relationships, which I thought was super interesting. Can you speak to what does that mean, horizontal versus vertical relationships?
Yeah. One of my favorite books of all time is The Courage to Be Disliked. It's such a good book. I've read it so many times. I've hardly got any paper books at all because I live out of my suitcase, and it's the one that I'll just carry around with me, and I highlight it and I look at it all the time. And it talks about horizontal relationships as opposed to vertical relationships in a team dynamic. And a vertical relationships it describes as something that's got hierarchy. And so you will know that you're in a vertical relationship because there are certain things that you as the owner or founder could say to your team members that they wouldn't say back to you. And often that's praise and it's rebuking. So it's the idea that you say, oh, well done, you did a great job, or hey, we need to talk about this. This wasn't up to scratch, or something like that. It's stuff that you would say to them that they would never in a million years say back to you, because it's probably very rare that you couldn't imagine it happening. And that's when you're in a vertical relationship. Whereas a horizontal relationship is one where communication flows freely across all levels, like perceived levels or actual levels of a company. And so there's something that horizontal teams would say or would do is they would share gratitude throughout levels. So they would say things like, I'm really grateful that you did that, or thanks so much for your help with this. And that could flow both ways, because you could say that to team members, they could say it to you. And when I read this book, I got very intentional about doing that within my company. And I think we probably had a team of about 20 people at the time. And I took all things out of my vocabulary that could give any sense of hierarchy. So it was never good job or well done. It was always thank you so much for that, or that really meant a lot, or I really appreciate that. And I wasn't really sure because I thought, how much difference could this make? Because it's just a few phrases difference, but it made a world of difference. And people in my team started thanking me for things and started showing me appreciation for stuff. And then I did it the other way. And then it felt like we were so much more of a balanced, happy team instead of having these levels. And now I would never run a team with vertical relationships. It would always be horizontal.
Did you communicate to the team that this was a thing you were trying to change and evolve?
No, I don't think I did, because I didn't think I needed to. I think it was just a small shift in my language that then kind of okayed it. Have you got the book up there? Can I see it? As we were talking, I was like, I'm sure that's it. I can see it in the mirror over there, and it's back there.
Where is it?
Next to... This book, top 5 books of all time. It's so freaking good. Horizontal relationships versus vertical relationships. That's the one.
Yeah, and it's so funny on it. That sign, that circular thing. It's called an enso.
Yeah.
So it's a Japanese symbol for. I'm actually gonna butcher this because I do it the whole time. But I love the definition of this symbol so much that I
Forgot it.
that I forgot it first, but then also got it tattooed.
Oh, cool.
So I
yes.
have
Okay.
the same thing like right
there you
there.
go.
And it means the source or essence. It means nothingness, the infinity in the whole universe, that everything is interconnected in a chain of co-becoming and in a state of constant flow.
Yes. Cosmic oneness.
Cosmic oneness, exactly.
Beautiful. How often do you think about cosmic oneness? Because I think about it all the time.
Not very much. Tell me, what was your last thought pattern on cosmic oneness, and maybe explain what it means, or maybe is it exactly what I described the ENSO to be?
Cosmic oneness is what astronauts feel when they go up into space and they look back at the Earth and they go, "Oh, isn't it beautiful? This place that we all live." And they get a sense that we're all the same, we're all connected, we all ultimately want the same things. And so I last thought about cosmic oneness when I was walking to meet you on this podcast, because I was thinking, everyone listening, me, you, we all ultimately want the same things. It's just how we frame words and actions to get to those same things. But I think about it a lot when I'm booking Airbnbs, because I always live in either Airbnbs or hotels, and I always want the highest floor possible. And I really like also thinking on planes, because you have that sense of you're higher up, you get more perspective. And it's because if you're on the ground floor and you've got people walking past, or like the first floor, people are kind of annoying when they're up close, because you can hear them being noisy. They're walking past, they're like playing their phones out loud. And you're like, oh, who are these people? But the higher and higher you get, the more you see people as like they're smaller, the more you kind of appreciate like, oh, they're just busy. They've got these things. They've got these problems that I've also got. And the more of a sense of cosmic oneness you get. And I feel like the more in that mindset you are, the more that you can have perspective on who you are and what you're trying to do, rather than getting really caught in like smaller, lesser emotions like anger, envy, scarcity. So I quite like the abundant cosmic oneness. We're all the same way of living.
Love that. I hadn't, you literally just connected these dots in my mind, but I read somewhere not too long ago that space and time are linked. So the more space you have, the more time you feel that you have. So cities and London and small cramped spaces generally make us feel like we need to go, and like we're rushed and we don't have very much time. And you go to the countryside and you look over a big field or you're in a big wood and you're just like, oh, I feel like everything is a lot less rushed. And the same applies. Like if you had to live in a city, but you are able to live up and you can see over buildings, I feel like it brings that sense of I have more time. But what you just helped me connect is that I feel you kind of have space from people, which helps you connect to yourself and to people as a whole.
Yeah.
So the courage to be disliked leads to horizontal relationships. The challenge I find in teams, especially if it's well, maybe not if it's horizontal. Actually, I'm trying to think this through in real time. When it comes to difficult communication or like challenging topics, conflicts, the best teams thrive as a result of healthy conflict, of like debating about ideas. You're on the same team. We're focusing on the problem, not each other. And so how do you structure your culture of communication?
So specifically the relationship with me and Joanna, because that's probably the one where it comes up the most. And our kind of visionary integrator dynamic is a lot based on a book called Rocket Fuel with the EOS system, which is the traction guy.
Okay. Could you walk us through it?
So Rocket Fuel is that relationship between the person who's out the front with the big ideas and the person who's behind the scenes just as important, but doing the operation stuff. And the idea is that they have completely different skills and completely different things they want to do, but they work in perfect harmony together as long as they acknowledge that there is meant to be friction in their relationship. And I think when I first started working with Joanna, I ignored I didn't realize that there was meant to be friction. So I saw the friction, and in any given challenge that we have, my default reaction is to go, oh, it doesn't matter. We'll deal with that another time. And hers is to go, no, that's really important because otherwise it'll create problems for us in the future. And then that's the friction. But when you realize, no, it's meant to be there, then you can kind of take this friction and go, that's why we're not aligned on this thing. And then you can study it together. And then once you study it together, then you get to the place of this makes sense and this is how we'll do it. So we kind of look for the friction together and then figure out how to handle it together and never see it as a me versus you thing. Probably because we are ultimately aligned and we want the same thing. So the values of knowing what you're working towards happen first. And then the appreciation of how you both approach problems comes next. And then being ready to attack where you don't see eye to eye is a really nice way of doing it.
Would you be open to sharing the last time you did this to make it really tangible?
The last time we did this was probably something so tiny. It was opening a Thrivecart account and having to have a different Stripe account related to our new Thrivecart account. Something so unbelievably stupid. But because we come at it in totally different ways, and I'll be like, doesn't matter, just call it something. We'll deal with it later. Accountant will deal with it. And she's like, no, we have to get this right now because otherwise it will cause us problems in the future. It just means that we might have to have a conversation about the day-to-day of something in order to reach a compromise or a decision on it. Whereas if we just kind of annoyed each other about it, then we might start complaining about each other to other people, and it might just get totally blown out of proportion, even though it's a tiny thing. So it's acknowledging that it's just something that we need to decide on, and it doesn't actually matter what the decision is. It just matters that one of us owns it. And that might be me owning the mess and saying, I know that my decision now is causing mess, but I'm going to deal with this mess in the future. So that it takes out of her head that she has to deal with it in the future, which is her main worry with that. Or it's her saying, I know you don't want to deal with this right now because you've got loads more important stuff to do. I will deal with all of this now so that no one has to deal with the mess in the future. That's it. I think it's just an open communication thing.
I really love the being aware that like there's going to be tension in our relationship, and that's what makes us a really effective team.
Yeah.
And then just how you deal with that tension is the difference between a healthy relationship versus an unhealthy one.
With clients, it was slightly different in the agency because there's always still a sense that you are on the same team. It's me plus you versus the problem. We're all working towards us wanting your social media accounts to grow because we were a social media agency. But then there was something else we used, and it's called taking the other handle. And it's the idea, I think I learned it in hospitality. So I worked in a lot of restaurants before I started my own business. And the idea behind taking the other handle is that there's a problem that's gone on. Someone's not got their pizza, because I worked in pizza restaurants, or someone's not got the results that they wanted from a campaign. And you've got two choices. You can play it up or you can play it down. Whatever you do, they are going to do the opposite. So imagine that you've made a mistake. If you said, oh, it was only tiny. It's not even a big deal. Like, it's fine. Why are you making such a big deal of this? Like, just chill out. They would be like, what do you mean? It's my business. This is important because of this. They totally go the other way. So if you go the other way, they go the other way again. So it's, I can't believe I did this. It's such a terrible mistake. Oh my goodness, I'm so embarrassed. I'm going to do this and this and this to rectify it. This is how sorry we are, et cetera, et cetera. What you probably find, and what we found countless times again and again, was that they'd be like, oh, don't be silly. It doesn't even matter. Honestly, don't worry about it. It's fine. I know that you were trying your best. It probably won't happen again anyway, blah, blah. They take the other handle. So we always had that in mind whenever we were dealing with any client stuff. And so if you always play it up, they always play it down, and then you have a better relationship overall. That felt magic, discovering that.
Do you then also translate that into a team dynamic, or is that specific to the client's relationship?
I told my team that that's how stuff worked with clients, so that they could also use that with clients. I don't think I play that game with team members. I think I just try and be open. But then at the same time, if something's important to them, you don't want to play it down. So I would probably use it a little bit.
quick pause to say, if this show has brought you some clarity, then hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because one insight at the right time can change everything. Plus, it fuels the show so I can keep on showing up for you. Right, let's get back to the episode. There's something that I ask quite a few guests, which is it's a bit of a tangent, but you are someone who likes to live life at the extremes to then find your balance. I know from Ben that he said that you work a lot, like super hard. You have like what probably this, I think he said this, the best work ethic he's ever seen. He said that even at airports while you're waiting in the queue for check-in, you'll get your laptop out and put it on top of your suitcase and start answering emails. And he's like, what on earth are you doing? And so there's obviously this like intensity that you live life at, which is I'm still struggling to put this picture together of like how you're so zen and calm and like at peace and thinking about cosmic oneness, and then also have this intensity and drive with work.
Yeah.
I think that's a magical superpower. That feels like an ace from my perspective. But I'm interested in the balance between the expectations that you have of yourself versus the expectations that you have of the team. Because the expectations you have of yourself feel like they're very high. World champion, powerlifter, billionaire, going from Jody 2.0 to Jody 3.0. All of these things are very high expectations of yourself.
Yeah.
How do you balance that with the expectations of your team?
That's my biggest challenge. My single biggest challenge is I know I'm holding myself to very high standards all the time, but I like that. That's the game I just like playing. It never feels like work. It never feels like working hard. It always feels like I'm onto something. I'm seeing what I can do. I'm keeping perspective. The game for me is staying zen while doing that. That's the part I really enjoy. And also I really like finding the edges of my comfort zone and then being like, oh, I'm here. No one ever gets here. What's it like? So that's quite fun. The part I don't like, and I really try hard to change or to kind of chill out on, is I would probably by default hold other people to very high standards, just like the ones I hold myself to. But how I've switched it is I don't want to have standards for anyone. I want them to hold themselves to high standards. I want to work with people where it's important to them that they are holding themselves to the high standards that they have said that they will. And maybe that comes back to integrity. And Ben's a good example of that because he's my husband. We've been together since we were 18. We work together, we train together, and working together especially, I'm aware that if I want to set up my laptop at an airport, I do not expect him to do that at all. And I don't want to be this, like, you could be the world's worst boss or the world's worst business partner because you're like, well, I'm working. Why aren't you working? And I just don't want that at all. So there's nothing in me that would ever say, you should be working here or you should be doing as much as me or anything like that. I would rather do what I want to do. And then sometimes maybe I am the example. And then he goes, oh, cool, I want to do this. Like, let me join you with this. Or sometimes he's like, no, I just want to chill out now. And that's fine. It's all fine. So it's for sure my biggest challenge.
Feels like something that's worth putting into the user manuals.
It's also in the Courage to Be Disliked book. It's called The Separation of Tasks.
Okay.
The idea that you focus on your tasks, I'll focus on my tasks. And I think about that a lot because all I want to focus on is my tasks and let other people focus on theirs. And then I think it does mean though that you become the example and then people do it as well because they're like, oh, well, she's doing that and she's finding it fun. And it's not this thing that is a chore. So maybe I'll find that too. And then it kind of empowers people to find their own sense of how they want to live their life too.
Do you have to help guide people through getting clarity on defining their standards and defining this life they want to live?
The thing I probably help people with the most is being intentional. And it's probably, when you kind of call bullshit, that's what I do the most because it'll be someone's limiting belief about something that they don't realize is a limiting belief, but it's just something that they believe that they picked up from childhood or from their friends or something like that. And it'll be like, oh, you can't work on weekends, or, oh, you have to you have to drink alcohol to have fun, or expensive equals bad, or that kind of stuff. It's like, hang on, what does that mean? Where did you get that from? And especially I think with running a business or wanting to get somewhere in business or in like a kind of success, someone will have their idea of how you get there and how you don't. And then they just follow their story along with that set of beliefs. But once you go, well, hang on, you can work on weekends, or you don't have to work on weekdays, or you can make rest a productive part of your week, or whatever it is. You just interrupt their patterns. And then the moment you interrupt their patterns, they figure out how they can live in this new way that then they create like a new framework for themselves.
What was the last limiting belief that you became aware of?
The last limiting belief I probably got over myself is just one that I'm constantly getting over. And it's just, it has to be me. As in, it has to be me that does this thing. I face that all the time. Every time I hit this thing where I think, this has to be me that does this, I couldn't possibly train someone else to do this thing, I'm often wrong. And then as soon as I go, no, that's not true. What if it wasn't true? Then I can figure out a way to train someone else to do that thing, create a system that means that someone else can do it, empower someone else to do it, get AI to do it. There's nearly always a way forward.
I'm like so surprised that that's your thing, because you sold JC Media and you had no earnout in precisely because you'd systemized the business so intensely.
There's levels to it. With J Social Media, it was figure out all the stuff I do and then one by one get other people to do that thing. But then I feel, I did it pretty well with that. But then now I'm running a business from scratch that's not a 10-year business, it's like a 2-year business. So there's stuff that I'm doing now, and I keep having to relearn what does need to be me, because it's a much smaller team. I've gone from agency to software. I've got more free time because it's just the product takes care of a lot of the stuff that previously would have been a human taking care of. So I find it would be easy to stay in the trap of, oh, I've got all this time and I can run a business where I can still do the stuff and it's fine. But I think that I don't want to get caught in that trap because I don't want to be busy with needless stuff. So it's that one, that it has to be me, is going to go on forever. I feel like the people who are really at the top of their game with any business they run, any media, any podcast, anything, it's because they've constantly shed their skin in what they're doing. With a podcast, like ideally, you're here doing this part, but you don't do any of the other part.
Yeah.
You've got the research delivered to you. You've got the cream eggs delivered to the table because you know that's useful and you know that's something that the guest really enjoys. But you just do the bit that's your superpower, and then you keep redefining what your superpower is to take more away, so that you could you could probably just fit 5 podcasts in a day if that was the case. So then the more you do it, the more you can outproduce, and then the more that you can learn, iterate, get to your next level faster.
So what in the business are you finding it hardest to let go of?
At the moment, a lot of what we're doing with Coachvox is around community. And at first I thought this would really be a really bad thing, because I went from agency to software, and in my agency, our clients were worth thousands a month. And now our product, Coachvox, we make AI coaches. It's $99 a month. So it's a very different offer, but we've got everyone in a community and I love people. So I'm like the biggest overservicer in the whole world. And at first I thought that would be a really bad thing, because I thought I'd just be too busy. It wouldn't be sustainable. But then I'm finding out that that's a really good thing, because it means that I know our customer base really well. But I think at some point of some level of scale, I won't be able to do that at quite the intensity that I'm doing it now, and that it would hold me back in the future, and that I need to get more help, support, processes to take care of that. But it's similar to what we were saying right at the start, which is there's bad business advice at some stages, and it's good at other stages, like the whole do things that don't scale. Very good now in a 2-year software startup, very bad advice in a 10-year agency that you're trying to sell. I did nothing that didn't scale when I was trying to sell, but I'm doing everything that doesn't scale right now.
What else are you doing at this stage that wouldn't make sense in, let's say, another 2 years as opposed to 8 years?
Everything. So much. Getting just being very involved in lots of the customer service, for example. So Joanna and I will like discuss some of the customer service stuff because we've not got it systemized enough to the point where it just could be like AI. So sometimes people think it's AI and it's actually just me. It's like, no, it's really just me. And maybe they don't expect it to be the founder, but it's because we've not necessarily got our one ICP and the one problem that they have and the one way of solving it. It's still quite like these 10 things could be a reason that something's happening. So it's going to be like that for a little while. But at some point, it's up to me to be intentional about putting in systems, processes, AI to solve more of it.
I feel like it's the perfect segue into community. You said before that community is a competitive moat, and I love, live, and breathe community. And so, but I'd love to know what it means to you. Like, what does community mean, and why do you think it's a competitive moat?
At Coachvox, I think what it means is that all our customers are connected with us beyond the product and also that they know each other. I really love it that we introduce our customers. They're all in a Slack group together. They talk to each other. They connect with each other on LinkedIn. Sometimes they meet up and that they're building relationships beyond just like Coachvox, the software product that they use. So I think community feels like when people connect beyond what we've created and then they create new connections and new other fun stuff that then means ultimately they like us even more because we've created value over and above the the thing that we thought we were creating value about. I feel like it also means that we know what our customers want to the point where we know what to build next. And then it almost feels like community turns into free market research, free product design, free product development. And then we very much co create what we're building with our customers. And it's stuff like we've got the development team roughly know what they're working on to the point where we have this list of priorities and we'll ask our customers, which should we build first, which matters to you? And we create type forms where they drag and drop the things that matter to them the most. And then we find the most important ones and then we build those. And then we tell them that we've built this thing because it was the highest voted. That's how we're using community. There's probably other ways, but I like meeting people as well. I run Q&As every week where they're just complete free-for-alls. Everyone joins and they just ask questions about where we're going, what we're doing, what they can do with the AI version of them. And I feel like I'll do that for a very, very long time because you can just keep connected to people and then you never lose touch of what you're building and why you're building it.
At what stage do you think that wouldn't make sense?
I feel like I want to always do it. You know, the founder of Zara,
Yeah.
who still goes into the office and just goes around the shops and does merchandising and just looks around because he's just interested. Probably that. I feel like getting other people more involved at some point will make more sense. But the internet plus artificial intelligence just means that if I can speak to customers or if my team can speak to customers and then we can keep knowing what they want, then we can put that into like our AI models and then they can understand how we build out the product. And then we'll just have this really beautiful flywheel that keeps going forever where we just keep building what they want next that they maybe don't even realize they want next, but we know because we've read between the lines from talking to them. And then it keeps going forever.
I read recently by one of the top community people. It's called David Spinks. He wrote a great book called The Business of Belonging. And he did a tweet not too long ago, and it may have just been a flippant thought of his, but it's kind of stuck in my mind, which is how community and content are joined at the hip. And if you think about it, people come to communities generally, obviously to meet other people, but I have a theory that the reason people come isn't the reason people stay.
Yeah.
So people usually come to communities to try and solve a problem. And you usually solve that problem through some sort of content. Now, it might not be content in the traditional sense. It could just be, oh, we're having a conversation Therefore I'm able to solve my problem. But however, that's still a transfer of information, which is what I deem content to be.
Yeah.
And so people come to solve their problems through some medium of content. People stay because they find other people who are similar to them, and they find this sense of belonging and connection.
Yeah.
And you've invested a lot, and I'm currently trying to think about, how does my content world tie into my community world?
Yeah.
And so you've invested tons into writing content. You're a senior contributor to Forbes. You've done tons of articles. You've done tons of interviews. You've invested a lot in content. And so how do you think about the intersection of content and community?
I definitely feel like people come to Coachvox because they believe that they are first movers in their circles. And then I think they stay because they like playing the game of continuing to do that. There's some game fun element in there because we make it quite fun. How I think about it in terms of content is everything that I do or write about or share is beliefs based. So it's based on my strong beliefs that are also the strong beliefs of my ICP that they don't even realize are their strong beliefs. But when they see me talking about them so openly, like extreme people get extreme results, or like play your ace cards, or like any of the things we've talked about, they go, oh, hang on, I believe that too. And then we're like connected. And then they go down rabbit holes of my content. And then that leads them to being like, oh, I should have an AI version of me because this means that I can have more freedom, because that's also one of my beliefs and values. And this is how I test the extremes of my content. And this is how I get more connected to my audience. So it's kind of all linked. And so I show up in a lot of places prolifically because I want to get more of my strong beliefs out there, because I feel like that's the thing that attracts in more similar people. And I really like working with people who are also self-aware, very curious, and just open to kind of seeing what the magic of AI can do for them. So on a practical level, I quite often share out on my LinkedIn my kind of rules for life. So it'll be like rules for life for founders in 2025, or like these are the rules I follow for my life. And it'll be like 10. And it's just me playing with different ways of framing the stuff I think. And then I put them out there maybe every quarter. And then I say, what are yours, or which ones do you agree with? And then in the comments, people will say, I love number 4, or like, I'd add this, or I love number 5, or I don't agree with number 6, or whatever. So then I start to realize what people in my audience and people I want to work with also believe. And then that's what I turn into YouTube videos, more LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn comments, tweets, everything. It's all just a bigger manifestation of those beliefs of taking them to the extremes. And where that links in with AI, and especially because I made Jody AI with Coachvox, and that's the AI version of me. If someone wanted to speak to Jody AI to get like a coaching session or a mentoring session, it would only be based on those beliefs, because I think that's the most important thing. That your beliefs shape everything. And so they could go, okay, I'm having this problem with sticking to a diet, or I'm having this problem in my marketing, or I'm having this problem in my business. And they would get AI coaching based on a set of beliefs that they know that they also agree with, because they've seen my content again and again. And so when we teach other coaches on how to do that, it's like, take your strong beliefs, everything that you believe, that also your audience believe, and that's why they buy into you, and put that into an AI model that then means that you can have more free time, and you can essentially live forever and help people beyond your time, because people are being helped through your methods and your frameworks and your belief systems. But the beliefs is the most important part of all the content. I think if everyone operated on that level and they put their beliefs first in their content, I think it would be more clear what everyone stood for. And I think we would have stronger personal brands. Because you could think of, if you think of anyone in the kind of public eye right now or big on LinkedIn, it's like, do you know what their beliefs are? Do you know what they really stand for? Because I feel like the ones that will stand the test of time are the ones where you do know what that means, and they kind of reserve a belief in your head.
I'm trying to think of almost like the flywheel that you described. You
Yeah.
have content, content comes from your beliefs, which attracts similar people. that you kind of pull into a community, whether
Yeah.
that's the practical Coachvox community, or whether it's sort of like a LinkedIn style community or a YouTube community or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
It's,
then that community gives you inspiration again for more content with the beliefs that they resonate most with, and they add to it.
I think it's being insanely self-aware. That means you know what your beliefs are. That means that you test and kind of get over yourself to show up online. Because I think there is an element of, oh, I'm a bit scared to share what I strongly believe in online, but you have to be playing the game. You have to believe it's a game. That's one of the beliefs. And then you start showing up online with your strong beliefs, and then you see what resonates, and then you see what doesn't. And then you go more in the direction of the things that you believe that also your ICP believes, which means you define your dream customer as well. And then the more feedback you get, the more you create, the more you reserve that in their head. And then if you did have your AI as well, your AI is speaking with people, collecting their challenges, finding out their challenges, and then coming up with new content to create, which is their challenges plus your beliefs plus their beliefs. And then you can keep producing. And then that goes on forever because you then attract in more people of the same. And that is the flywheel. And then your influence and your brand and everything goes bigger. But it's based on such substance. It's not just based on the person who is in the most engagement groups on LinkedIn, or the person who happens to, I don't know, say the most popular thing in the best way. It's like, I don't really care about being popular. I care about meeting those other weirdos like me who believe similar stuff.
I had one like very small thought, which was off the back of you designing this Jody AI, and also as an author, you've written a bunch of books as well. Do you think there's a future where people don't write as many books because they're only looking from your frame of reference at your experiences, as opposed to what Coachvox is doing is you take all of the wisdom that would be in a book,
Yeah.
and you apply it to someone else's experience in their frame of reference.
Yeah. I guess it depends where the world goes. I went to Dubai last month, and it's almost like everything happens by you clicking your fingers. You order an Uber and it's there straight away. And if your Uber's going to take 3 minutes, someone will cancel it because it's too long. And if you don't come out fast enough for your Uber, they'll cancel you because they could pick up another ride in a minute, and you'll grab your food straight away, and everything is just like click, 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 it's here. So is that what we will want of our content? And will it be that we won't want to sit on a sofa and read a book? Will we actually want basically AI coaching on the book's methods, but applied to our specific problem because we won't want to think about it? So if we do demand that kind of on tap information, then yeah, I can see that working. And then maybe people don't need to write books anymore. But then I also like that if your AI knows that much about what you believe very strongly about marketing and SEO and social media, and then you ask it to write you a book on leadership, it could that's what our AIs do. They take your strong beliefs on these things, they predict what your strong beliefs are on these other topics, and then they probably could write you a book on leadership that would be like, oh my God, that sounds exactly like me.
And then the scary part is that also feels like people will need to think less. And that's the part I get a bit nervous about with AI. It's like, oh, I'm leaning on ChatGPT so much and it's giving great answers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I haven't had to go through the hard graft of coming up with these answers. I've just gone through the hard graft of defining the question well.
I feel like we'll just demand more from our content. Because right now, you might think, oh, it's giving great answers. But then if you spent double the time on your prompts, it would probably give really great answers. So in the future, we're going to look at those answers and go, oh, that was clearly ChatGPT because it's got this structure and it's used this word. But I really want to know that AJ wrote it, and therefore this is the amount of time he has to spend on this prompt and spend on the inputs to get a better output. So maybe we'll just raise the bar for what good content is, because if AI generated crap is just all around us, if we're swimming in it, then it's only going to be the good stuff that rises to the top, which is either the stuff that is genuinely human or is the stuff that is prompted so well that you can't tell it's AI. Because I don't think people actually care if it's AI generated. I think they care that it's good. And the best content creators will only put out good stuff, and the bar will rise there.
And people should go and check out your multiple articles on your prompts, as that's something you've gone deep into. So I will put a link in the show notes for some of your Forbes articles and your prompt lists
Yeah,
and
cool.
stuff, because that's a great resource. But I'm conscious of your time, so we're going to have to get to the last couple of questions. You spoke briefly about, well, a lot of this conversation is about building self-awareness, and we have to understand ourselves, understand our beliefs, and that's the sort of like top of the waterfall, which everything else comes from. What are your habits for developing self-awareness?
Notice when you get triggered. The next time you feel something in your chest, go, why? What is it? I feel like some level of inner work, like childhood work, the stuff that happened to you when you were younger, or the kind of experiences that you had when you were younger, figure out what that might be manifesting in your adult life, just because it's interesting. And then dig into that, and then make sure that there's nothing there that's happening unconsciously. Because that's the main thing, turning the unconscious conscious and then picking a new way forward. Other ways to be self aware. I think being really interested in other people to the point where you end up having role models and also anti role models, where you kind of see someone who you're not really vibing with. And then you think, why? What is it? What is it about who they are and how they're being that I know that feels uncomfortable? And is it because they are exhibiting some kind of behavior that I would never want to display? Or is it because they are showing up as themselves and that's making me feel uncomfortable because I'm not showing up as myself? I think other people can teach us quite a lot about ourselves.
Interesting on the point of childhood. When I chatted to Ben, uh, I asked him what question he would ask you if you were sat in my seat, and he said, she's relentless. She has that fire in the belly. There's always something driving her, but she hasn't had any great hardships in life. There are no like sort of psychological drivers of having to prove anything wrong. And so the question that he was going to ask you is, what is your underlying driver? Why do you push so hard?
I've definitely had challenges, but they've more been in grown up life. I just had a pretty normal childhood. Everyone thinks I had a normal childhood, but I probably did. And maybe so I definitely don't feel like I'm trying to prove anyone to anyone else. There's no one who I'm like, oh, if only they could see me now, or if like I'll show them. There's just not any of that. It doesn't really do anything for me. I think it's partly because I feel like I'm so grateful for so much stuff that has happened, or the people in my life, or the things that I've just been handed, the ace cards that I've been handed. I have a big sense of responsibility. I've got a very big sense of don't waste this. And because I feel like the biggest crime is unfulfilled potential, and because I don't want to do that with myself, I don't want to not fulfill my human potential. I'm genuinely really excited to see what it is. And that's why I like playing the game and being relentless. But I also don't want to waste any of the things that I've been given at all. So I want to play all of them. So maybe that's what drives me.
How do you then limit the flip side of that coin of being so passionate about not wasting potential? I feel like the flip side is almost having guilt of being dealt those cards.
Mm.
Do you ever feel any sense of, oh, I'm so lucky, therefore I must do this, because if I didn't, if someone else were handed these cards, they would achieve this?
I think there's so many different ways of saying the same sentence. So imagine a sentence like, this is my life. Every day I live this life. So you could say, this is my life. Every day I live this life. Or you could say, this is my life. Every day I live this life. And so the exact sentence that you just said, I'm like, oh my God, I've been handed all these amazing things. What can I do with them? Whereas the flip side of that would be, oh, I've been handed all these amazing things. What can I do with them? And I always want it to be the former. I want it to be this sense of childlike wonder about everything. And I like hanging out in that world. I think the moment I felt like anything didn't feel like playing a fun game, I would pause and I would reflect and I would regroup and I would go again in a different direction. But I'm usually able to find the fun. So it's all good. So far, so good.
I feel that ties into your value of playfulness, and then also not. I think in your user manual you spoke about something to do with not responding well to people who take a victim state, and actually these two different framings come from you're either almost a victim to the privilege to be like, oh, how well, like, what do I do with this? Oh, I don't know. Versus being just grateful and feeling abundant.
Yeah.
And so that feels very aligned with your values that you said, which is just amazing to see. Like, what a signature, which is so inspiring. Okay, coming near to the end, the thing that I wanted to circle back on. And I don't know if this feels like the right thing to close on, but it's the thing that's stuck in my mind. More goes back to the start of the conversation, which was about our success system. And I can understand how you apply a success system to something like selling your business or starting a business or building a YouTube channel. I can understand that. But when the definition of success or the goal that you're working towards is become a billionaire, that feels very open and it's quite broad. Like there are a million ways or a billion ways to become a billionaire. And so then how does this translate and trickle down?
The first step is defining the success. And then if it is something like become a billionaire, what do you mean? Do you mean having £1 billion, dollars, rand in the bank? It's a lot easier if it's rand.
Yeah.
Or do you mean having a business that's valued at that? Or do you mean something else to do with the billion thing where it could be you've helped 1 billion people or something like that? So defining that first. And then after that, I feel like it's just a frame of reference where I can compare everything to that goal. And that means it all comes back to the day to day. So if I look at my to-do list for the day, if I look at my calendar for the day, is everything I'm doing putting me on the track to achieve that goal? If I did this exact day on repeat, would I reach that goal? And then if that answers yes, then you're going in the right direction. And then you don't even need to think about quarterly, yearly, 5-yearly goals. You just know that you're going in the direction, and the pressure's off for the time limit because you haven't set a deadline. Because we're probably quite different in our success system in that sense, because I don't really need the deadlines or want the deadlines. So there's elements of it that are very open, and there's elements of it that are very structured. And it's just knowing when to apply each one.
So what is your definition of success when it comes to being a billionaire? Is it pounds, dollars, rand? Is it people? Is it company valuation?
I feel like it's dollars because everything's kind of dollars now, even though we're in the UK dealing in pounds.
Cannot believe you said that.
Yeah, we just always talk in dollars. So I guess it's $1 billion valuation.
Valuation.
Yeah, at some point in the future. But then I'm not in a rush, and it doesn't matter which business it is in either. It's like this is my goal at some point in the future that I'm working towards, but it's just a frame of reference. And then the world champion goal as well. I don't care what sport. I don't care what age. If I could be a bowls world champion at 93, I'd be like, yes, goal. That's fine. It's cool. Ideally, I want to do both those things at the same time, but really they're just both goals where the process, the journey, the route I'm okay for it to be a bit more unknown.
I connect really deeply with both of these goals. One of my things, the thing that felt most uncomfortable for me, that felt like it would be a real stretch and that kind of excited me, but also scared me, was becoming an Olympian. And it is exactly the same, where it's like, I don't care. I don't really care what sport.
No.
Like, it's just a cool thing to be like, I went to the Olympics.
Yeah. You could do that. You could do that for now. You could go on a journey of finding a sport that you're most likely to be able to get to the Olympics in, get residency in a country that's underrepresented in that sport, you could do this. If you set your mind to doing that, you could do it.
Yeah, that does feel like a bit of a cheat. Going to a different country.
Oh, so you have to compete for GB.
Yeah, I don't want to compete with GB.
But you need to define that in more then, because it's not, because then your goal isn't just going to the Olympics. Your goal is going to the Olympics for GB.
Yeah.
So there's caveats to it. So then you'd need to define it a bit more, because if you go into the Olympics for a random island country, doesn't cut it.
No.
Then it's like you have to be super clear with your manifesting.
And then also being realistic about when I'm going to dedicate time to this. So like doing the Ironman was a great wake up call to being like, this thing requires a lot of time investment, and you can do it while you're building business like you're doing. But the business that I was building at the time it required less intensity. And so therefore I could focus more intensity on the Ironman stuff. But, and so then I think about, okay, there are lots of sports where just from your physiological perspective, you're not likely going to be able to compete with someone who's younger than you. And there are some sports where actually you're more suited if you're slightly older. And so then I kind of just need to go through the list of sports to be like, what excites me? The dream would be to go, I love squash. So one of your frameworks is profession, obsession, and decompression. And so profession is the work, obsession is whatever you love doing outside of the work, and then decompression is rest. And I was thinking about what's my obsession at the moment? Like, what do I really love? And playing squash is the one thing that I really love at the moment. And that would be like unreal to be the best in the UK or in the UK team for squash. But I'm like bang average at the moment. So
how do you get better? How many coaching sessions are you away from being an Olympian in squash?
I literally had my first one yesterday in about 15 years. Okay. So just a couple more.
A few weeks, yeah. Fine.
Exactly. But yeah, that is really interesting. You've actually gotten quite fired up. So it's super exciting.
This is all on the theme of the extremeness as well. I don't really have like hobbies. A friend that we've got in common actually was like, oh, do you want to play paddle? And I was like, no, I want to squat, bench and deadlift. Like my obsession's powerlifting. Why would I want to play paddle? It's like, I either want to be doing my work, be doing my obsession, or be decompression. And there's nothing in between. But I realize not everyone has that need to do everything at the extremes. But you could get pretty far with squash, applying that framework to it and seeing how you could like double, triple down, just totally nerd out. You know, if you were a kid and you said that you had a dinosaur obsession, everything would be dinosaurs. You'd be sleeping in a dinosaur bedspread. You'd have dinosaur birthday cake. You'd be like, dinosaurs would be everywhere. Yeah. But we don't do that as grown-ups. But if we did, you could be representing GB at the Olympics for squash.
Lara's next door being like, please don't get squash bed sheets. Please don't get squash bed sheets.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this. I feel like a lot of this conversation has been going back to the layer of emotions, the hierarchy, and what emotional resonance they have, and try and live our lives in the top half, or as close to the top as we can. But I'd love to get real and understand when you get pulled down the ladder of emotions.
Yeah.
Where do you go? What pulls you down?
Sometimes I get pulled down because I'm on a specific day of my cycle. And then it might be like day 20. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm so sad. I'm like, oh, it's day 20. That's why. One time I was on like day 22 or something. And an old lady was crossing the road and I just burst into tears. I was like, what's going on? I'm not sad. And then I realized it was just hormones. So it's noticing when it's something like your hormones, something triggering you from something that's happened in your past, something that is there that your body has had this reaction to, that then you can try as fast as possible to take a step back from. I try and get perspective as soon as possible. It's similar to the happy list that we mentioned earlier. Finding a Miley Cyrus song that's going to get me into a different state, eating vegetables, going for a walk, getting some fresh air, doing a meditation, breathing. It's almost like you've got your levels of intervention to find out what's wrong, to figure it out, to get back to higher you.
Which is a perfect summary of this conversation. So thank you so much. It's been amazing. The closing tradition that we have is, because you've been so generous with your time, is there anything that an audience of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial people could support you with?
Oh, find me on YouTube. So I did a 30-day YouTube challenge a couple of months ago, and there are 30 videos there that are all about various different frameworks, methods, beliefs. So have a look, subscribe if you want, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on each of those. That would be really cool.
They are brilliant videos, so I can double click on that, ask, and I have subscribed, and it's a great channel already. So I will go and leave a bunch of comments and like some
Yeah,
videos and get the
cool.
ball rolling. Thank you
Thanks.
so much. This has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.